Hi friends, it's Deanna Williston from our Blooming Catholic Life, and I stumbled the other day on the Parish Book of Chant. It is free to download and print, but you can actually get a hard copy of it from Aquinas and More Catholic Books. So if you find it, it's by the Church Music Association of America, okay? Parish Book of Chant, 2008, Church Music Association of America. I'll try and put the website down in the description. Remind me if I don't. But you can find it online. It looks like this. And there is a button if you're online that you can click and you can order the hard copy if you'd like. So we had tried before the hymnal, the Catholic Education Series hymnal and supplement to Music First and Second Year by Justine Ward. This was the Ward method. Remember, they redid things and made everything numerical. Remember this one? And I found out with the help of our friend Veronica Brandt how to transpose this into dulcimer number notation, right? Because they use 1 for do and dulcimer uses 3. The trick was if a number had a dot under it, it meant it went an octave down, a dot above meant an octave up. And other than that, it was pretty easy to understand, but that's not for everyone. And I'm trying to teach people at my parish that, but then what happens if your parish publishes something that uses proper Gregorian chant? What are you going to do if you've learned just the word system? You're not maybe going to be able to read it, and some people were asking for help, blah, blah, blah. And First Saturdays, the Benediction uses that for Tantum Ergo. And so people know the tune pretty much, and actually that's a great teaching moment. So you may want to start with a tune you already know. It may really help you to learn it. But I found this little gem, and yes, it's a Parish Book of Chant. Let me switch to some. It's real Gregorian chant. But I don't want you to be afraid. Let's do a quick little book review, overview of it. I don't want you to be afraid. My sign's lower than I thought it was. Basically, Gregorian chant uses 2 numbers, the punctum and the verga. See, one has a stick, one doesn't have a stick. And then you're going to combine them. Why use this system instead of the note system? Because sometimes one word may have a number of different tones associated with each syllable. By being able to group these little guys together, you're not taking up 5 pages just to have one hymn. So it's like a shorthand. It's a musical shorthand. But let's go inside and look in here. It does start out. It says it's dedicated to His Holiness Pope Benedict XVI in thanksgiving for his motu proprio, summarum pontificum. Let's not go into that politics. Table of contents is pretty easily set up. It's super easy to read. They did a fantastic job of that. You have, your big subheadings, your major headers, your subheadings, more subheadings. So it has the order of the sung Mass, and then from there you can choose the ordinary form of the Roman Rite or the extraordinary form. And each has its own little block of prayers there, I think these are all prayers. After that, it has the next section is chants for the ordinary of the Mass, and there's a number listed there. The next one then is general hymns and chants, and those are numbered out. There are 20 of those, and then the numbering continues. It doesn't renumber for each category of hymns. So first is general hymns and chants. Then there's in honor of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and there's quite a few of those. Some of them are technically the same tune. So Salve Regina has 3 alone. It has simple tone version, the solemn tone version, and for monastic use. So there's actually 3 versions of Salve Regina, probably the same words, but slightly different tunes. Don't panic. Then there are seasonal hymns and chants, and then they get divided by season. So there's 3 for Advent, 7 for Christmas. There's just 1 for Candlemas, and it gives you the date in case you didn't know. Candlemas in here is February 2nd, right? Groundhog Day, some people call it Candlemas. Then Lent has several: Palm Sunday, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter. And then there's Gospel Canticles and the Litany of the Saints. There's the Benedictus for Lauds, the Magnificat for Vespers, the Nunc Dimittis for Compline, and the Litany of the Saints. Then there is a guide to singing chant, a guide to pronouncing liturgical Latin, an index, and the Benediction of the Blessed Sacrament. So you can see the Benediction of the Blessed Sacrament is what drew me in here, because I needed to know exactly what my priest is looking at, and I think he's getting it from this book for that benediction. There is a foreword here. It's just a couple pages. Yeah, it's pretty short. And then we get into the order of the sung Mass, but I don't want to freak you out. So, look, friends, the sign of the cross is just that, almost exclusively that simple version, the punctum. And then here's one without, or it's got a stem, but it's got somebody clumped to it. This guy's got a dot after him. Like, what does it all mean? Oh, this one has a line above it, right? A horizontal line above it and a vertical line under it. What does it all mean? It's okay. That's like a great one to start with, right? Just the sign of the cross. I think everybody can kind of get that one. The other thing to note is it's got a different clef. Can you see that? It's called a do clef. We're going to get to that in just a minute. I'm not going to look at all these chants or how easy it is. This is really just to do an overview. And a lot of times, I want to show you, this is how a hymn would be. So it might be, oh yeah, it didn't come 3-hole punched. Obviously, I did that myself. The hardbound book is probably a regular hardbound book. So like, here's the music, and then each subsequent verse is listed here. Both, I think that's the Latin side, and that's the English side. I'm looking at it backwards, you know. I hope you're not. So I'm going to come back here to the back. Yeah, I totally could have used the table of contents. Why am I just flipping? The Guide to Singing Chant. It tells you it uses traditional square notation. Now don't freak out, because they're really not square, are they? They're kind of like, you take a square and bend it a little bit, right? And it will include some rhythmic markings. It says it uses the Solesmes editions. And it will tell you that there is, consult the introduction to the Liber Usalis, or any one of several chant books. I don't even know what that is, but I'll have to. Maybe we'll have to look that up. Notes and group of notes. Traditional chant notation uses various types of individual notes and groups of notes. Each note, either alone or in a group, receives a single equal pulse regardless of its shape. Regardless of its shape. The classic method does not recognize different proportionate note values, like half notes, 16th notes, 8 notes, quarter notes. It doesn't do that among the different shapes. It is different than our modern Western system. The basic individual pulse can be considered an equivalent to an 8th note in modern music. So if you've seen that, like in my Adoramus, you know the one I use from EWTN, it's why this is all, when it's transcribed, it all comes into 8th notes, because that value is basically that of an 8th note. It may be stretched out by the use of various rhythmic markings, and they'll get to that later. So of the individual notes, these two were the most common. Oops, get it down a little bit. The punctum and the verga. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. They are combined to form different groups of notes, and those are called, I think it's pronounced neumes, Neumes, which are sung in consecutive order. So if you've got a, let me erase this for a second. This is an old board I've had out here for a while. It's not wanting to erase, so I'm not going to erase everything. Say I had one like this. Pretend I colored that in right. Then there's another guy here. I don't want to ruin it for you, but we read left to right, so we're going to sing this one. Then we're going to sing this guy. Ta-da! It's not that difficult, right? What if, you're like, what if it's like, oops. Can I do this to him? What if they look equal? Right? What if it's like this? It says this is called a podatus. The bottom note is sung first, and then the top note. Those two note groups could be an interval of a second, a third, a fourth, or a fifth. Then there's some guys who are, can you still see me? Yeah. That are more like this. I'm not going to color these all in because that's going to take forever and get ridiculous, right? This is called a Turcu. for which the 3 notes are sung consecutive, and the middle note is always the highest. There's one that's like a giant squiggly, and it's like, wow, and then there's a little note up here. Crazy, right? But what does that mean? The extended diagonal element represents the progression of 2 descending pitches from one end to the other, and then the higher single note. So it's like going from 1, down 1, and then up even higher. Okay, you're like, what? It's really not that difficult. If you learned basically to sing the Western one, this one is probably actually going to be easier. Like, because the shapes make sense, and you can see, like, normally you may have to look. If you're not a hardcore musician, and we've got like this regular 1, 2, 3, you may be squinting to see that this note goes up just 1 line and not 2, right? Not 2 spaces. But here it's easy to see. I'm going up 1 and back down, right? So this is actually easier. It's just not the one you learned first. And so it's not hard to learn it. You can do it pretty quickly. This is on page 169. So it's notes and groups of notes. You have your basics, and then they're grouped together. What is the clef? Normally the clef is a do clef. Okay, let's see if I can erase these. I may also switch to a different color just in case this red comes through. Give me just a second. Let's go with a blue. Let's see if this blue works. So their staff only has 4 lines, and you're like, what is the meaning of the 4 lines? Don't worry about it, because it's not like that. Oh, look, Rusty wants to come out. That's a very bad version of it. A do clef is showing you this line here is do. He's like Pac-Man. Wherever he's walking is where do is. So it's like movable. It just tells you where do is, and it can be anywhere on the staff. Should we let Rusty out, friends? Can you see his little nose? It's like right here. He's like, let me out, Mama. See if we can let him out quickly. Rusty, come on out. Daddy went to the office today, and Rusty is very sad, so he keeps going in and looking for him. The do clef is the one you're going to see the most. There's one more, and it's like, it looks the same, but then there's a note behind it. And that's the fa clef, but I've never even seen it. I know it exists. And instead it's telling you where fa is instead of where do is. Why would it do that? Do and fa are both telling you where the half step is, right? Where there's a half step. Let's see, there is a flat sign. It's not used very often. There's a natural that cuts it out. There's a custos cue to the first pitch of the next line. So that's an important one. It's kind of funny. In the music, when I first printed this, can you see? At the end here, it's like, oh no, I cut it off. But look, it's a hint to what's going to be the first note of the next line. So all the lines have them. You haven't printed off the edge of the paper. I think I did like fit to page to make this bigger for me. So, it was easier to print to read. And then I thought I cut everything off. I'm like, what is that? You read in the back. It's a little hint to what's on the next line. I really like that. I think that's nice. Then there's some that tell you how they changes the length. They may add a dot. They may add a horizontal line. This is not rocket science, friends. You're panicking over nothing. You just don't know what they are yet. There's different kind of bars too. You may just have, I don't want to ruin it for you. It's like a quarter bar, a half bar, full bar, and a double bar. That's not rocket science. So full and double bars, this guy here, you're going to pick up pretty quick. They're marking the end of a significant phrase in the book. It's just like a stop. That's it. These guys here, you may take a little breath, but it's not much. You shouldn't really interrupt it. So it's just letting you know, full bar lines may serve as a musical rest. You wouldn't have to write it out. If you were taking Gregorian chant and making it into modern Western you would change that into a rest. Like, it is not that scary. You think it's so scary. It is not. It's just not the system you learned, but it actually makes a lot more sense for singing. So the other one, it makes more sense for a lot of instruments, but this is really helpful for singing. It's about singing. I wonder if, and I think it's in the organ music because the organ would be mainly accompanying singers, so you need to know when they take a breath. It's about the text of the music and drawing people into it. If you would like a chart for all this, there is a chart at the end. Guide to Singing Chant on page 177 does have a little chart to tell you all the different note groups. So you could make yourself a little cheat sheet. It's a nice size. You can cut that out. Slip it inside of whatever you're using, your Magnificat, your Benedictus. Just slip it in there. I wonder if the Benedictus has that in there. And then next is the guide to pronouncing liturgical Latin. We're already at 16 minutes, so I'm just going to give you a little hint of that. It goes through the vowels first, which that's helpful, right? A as in father, never as in add. E as in mellow, with no elision to the I, as in obey. Singers who chronically make diphthongs of E's are encouraged to add an H in their mind. So, like, Domine, Deus. Make it an E at H sound to just help you. You may want to write that H in there so you know that you're making the correct E sound. I as in pizza. It is always sung with a long E sound as in feet, E. True even when it's followed by a voiced consonant. So like Dimitimus is how I've always said that, and it's Dimitimus. Shocking. In this edition, I is always used as a vowel, but in some it can be used as a consonant in place of a J, following the consonant. Following classical music, I lost it, didn't I? Yeah, you've probably seen that, where like Jesus' name is spelled and it starts with an I. They're letting you know in this book they're using the modern usage of the letter I. They're not using it to replace J's, but you may encounter that in some other places. So I know that this is what my church takes little responsorial psalm. It just takes snippets out of here. But so I know if you know that your parish is using this book, then you know that you're not going to run into that I-J messiness. O as in motion or for, with never a hint of a diphthong, like in mowing. It's motion. Adding an H may help you. Nomine, domini. U as in truth. So it goes through here. It even tells you the combined ones. Then it goes through all the consonants. And it kind of tells you like a Latin what the accent marks are for and how to sing smoothly. Then there is an index. I will say it's alphabetical. But then you get to like Mass 1, Mass 4, Mass 8. So I guess it's still alphabetical. And then after that is Masses by title. That's it. And like I said, the last page, and there's a page describing what the Church Music Association of America is. But before that, if you just need to know the benediction, it's here. Now you're going to have to know, it says opening hymn, and it tells you to go to page 103, but you can use other hymns, and it gives you 5 choices. So you'll have to know which one that you need to prepare. And then it lets you know Tantum Ergo's on page 106. Let's go ahead and give that a look. That's one probably most of you are familiar with. Okay, but it's coming out of, tells you it's on page 106. But if you look, it's a part of Pangue Lingua / Tantum Ergo. It tells you that's here. So most people don't sing the full song, which starts down here on 105. What we usually sing, and a lot of this has the Latin and then it has English. And then there's verse 2, 3, 4. Verse 5 is where Tantum Ergo comes in. So they give us the music again. And then look, verse 6 is down here. Genitori, genitoque. Okay? And it gives you the little amen even at the end. So this, if you're doing benediction, this is the only part you need from page 106. It's basically the bottom half of the sheet. And if you're using it, it's interesting because tantum ergo, let me hold that up again. This is what was confusing a lot of people. So here's the music with the Latin. Then it has it in English right underneath. And then here we have Latin, here we have English, and then the amen. You could take a little, I don't know about copyright laws, but if you're doing it for your personal use, I may white out the English because it's going to be a little bit confusing if you're doing it in a group, in your home. If everybody in the family is singing it, they're like, well, do I go to the English? Do I stop and read this? What is that? So this would need to be edited before you use it in a bulletin, and you can get, your church can get a license to do that, I believe. And so you'd be able to do that, but you're going to want to, I'm pretty sure you're allowed to do that, a little bit of editing if you take that out. But again, it would depend on your copyright license. So check that. It's the, oh my goodness, now I'm going to blank out. Church Music Association of America. It is an association of Catholic musicians who have a special interest in music and liturgy with an attachment to Gregorian chant, Renaissance polyphony, and other forms of sacred music, including new composition for liturgical use in keeping with the norms established by a competent ecclesiastical authority. And lets you know they are in Richmond, Virginia. It doesn't give me a web address there. Sorry, friends, it does not. So that's my little review of that. Does your parish use the Book of Chant? How do you find it? Is it easy to use? How do you get a license? If you know all that, put that in the comments below. I'm finding it super useful. Even if you're just trying to learn the tunes, they're going to be written out there. You can use it for personal use. You're going to pick it up super quick. You're going to surprise yourself. But if you don't, I invite you to just come back here, throw a comment down below, and see if we can solve your issue together. God bless you, friends.